All right. Welcome to the Charles Aris podcast, Corp Dev Nation. Josh Kotelnicki here. I'm a vice president and I lead our healthcare vertical. We're fired up today. We've got last month, our mid-year Corp Dev off report came out, 45 data points. It's our largest ever in our firm's history. Analyst all the way up to SVP. We've got three members of our Corp Dev leadership team here today to talk about insights and trends that we've observed from January 1st and through June 31st. And let's go around the horn and let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Derek, go to Diane, and then Rebecca.
Thanks, Josh. I'm Derek Gracey. I'm a senior practice leader at Charles Aris, and I lead our services and industrial corporate development practice.
Thanks, Josh and Derek. Diane Fedor here. I'm a senior practice leader, and I lead our technology corporate development vertical.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca Conway, and I lead the Corp Dev vertical for healthcare.
All right, fantastic. Let's start off with this. Let's talk about, let's get right into it. Let's start with the lovely, talented Rebecca Conway. Let's talk about industry insights and trends we've seen in healthcare and life sciences so far the first half of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people were really worried at the beginning of the year of what in the world is going on with healthcare. Some thought nothing, but actually we did see sort of a slow but steady trend throughout the first half of the year. Provider has been a little bit slower, but there are pockets within that we've still seen some good activity. Home health has been doing pretty well. There's also things going on in vet and a little bit in dental as well. So there's still some things there. We've seen a much larger pickup, though, on the life science services side for this first half of the year. So that's been an interesting development.
Let's go to the equally lovely and equally talented Diane Fedor for tech.
Thank you, Josh. And excited about healthcare, and we're really excited about tech. Josh, I think at the beginning of the year, when we reviewed our overarching 2025 Corp Dev report, I said tech is back. That continues to be the case. It has been a very hot market in tech, which is really exciting. I think that's kind of step number one. Step number two is, coming out of 2022, where comp ranges had really ebbed and flowed, they've truly evened out, especially in the tech space, continuing to be about 10 to 15% higher in terms of kind of all-in cash compensation. And then thirdly, and I know we're going to delve into this more, Josh, today, is remote work, right? Our candidates continue to lean heavily on remote work, but we're really seeing a trend in tech of wanting to be in an office. As somebody who sits in their guest room all day, I too would love to interact with people. And so we're finding a true hybrid trend in tech. But tech is back. If you've got a computer, give me a call.
And then moving on to the wise and powerful Derek Gracey. Let's talk maybe trends in industrials and trends in services. Would love to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So industrials, I think earlier this year, the first half of the year, it was steady. I wouldn't necessarily say slow, but it definitely wasn't hot from an M&A hiring standpoint in what we saw. We've seen that continue to tick up. Even now that we're into Q3, industrials seems to be thawing a little bit from the maybe freeze, if you will, from an M&A standpoint. We're seeing an increase in the leadership hiring, so the VP head of role, as well as the more junior folks for businesses that may already have a VP or head of, or someone that's at least doing business development from a relationship standpoint. We're seeing an uptick in bringing on a more junior individual, whether that's an associate or a manager within the team, to really focus on diligence and execution. On the services side, look, services has remained hot. That's no secret. I think we saw that the past couple of years. When other verticals are down, services is still up. I think just by the nature of those businesses, there are less barriers for entry from an M&A standpoint, of course. But even in saturated markets, we have a joke internally. A lot of people call me HVAC Gracey because we do so much work in the HVAC sector, both residential and commercial. That remains strong. We've kicked off multiple searches this year and completed multiple searches this year in the residential as well as commercial space. So that remains strong. On the other side of services, more on the white collar side, so professional and financial services, we've seen engineering services continue to be strong on the professional side, and private equity firms continuing to enter that space, even from the beginning, as well as the financial services. So, the insurance, the RIA, the accounting firm side of things, consulting firms. We've seen quite a bit of an uptick there, I would say, the past 6 to 9 months. So it's just really encouraging in the market in general.
Let's go around the horn back we'll start with Derek, go to Diane, go to Rebecca. Hottest subsector within your broader industry verticals. Derek, why don't you start with maybe industrials, then go to services?
Yeah, Josh. So a couple of things come to note from the industrial side. I would say we've seen more of an uptick or continued growth within the automotive, generally speaking. That could be like aftermarket parts, servicing, and whatnot. But on that side of industrials, as well as aerospace and defense, we've seen an inbound there, I would say. On the services side, professionally, it's those that I just mentioned. I think the insurance remains strong. We are seeing more on the kind of accounting tax advisory side of thing, kind of consulting firms that are doing that. And then on the blue collar services side, the residential home services remain strong. We saw a wave of roofing a while ago. I think restoration and roofing are continuing to be hot subsectors.
DDF and tech, what's it look like in terms of the hottest subsectors?
Yeah, Josh, I don't think it's going to come to surprise by anybody listening. It's AI. AI, cybersecurity is truly a hot market. Still trying to understand kind of the ebbs and flow of that. From there, IT services, it was a hot sector last year, continues to be a hot sector this year. SaaS had a little bit of a downturn last year, and we're seeing a good amount of SaaS software, B2B, B2C, coming back into the market. So I'm going to say it again. Tech is back. Make t-shirts.
And Rebecca, in terms of healthcare, big sector means a lot of different things. What subsector is the hottest from here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd mentioned this before about some of the trends we've been seeing, but definitely the life science services side of the house, we've done quite a bit in. And then if you think about provider and worried about what's happening there, there's actually been quite a lot of activity in the home health space, I'd say would be our number two for sure.
Gotcha. All right. So let's kind of have an open discussion. Rebecca, I'll start with you in terms of just maybe shifts you've seen. I know you've done a lot of stuff. You mentioned on the associate level, more junior hires in the first half of the year. Any shifts you've seen compared to historically, like skill sets, competencies, profiles of what hiring authorities are looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, we have seen more this year. About 50% of what we've worked on in healthcare have actually been senior manager to senior analyst level. So definitely building out teams, which is a positive thing. We're excited to see that these platforms are growing, and so they need that extra manpower on the team. It's the analytical horsepower with that group, of course. If I think about some of our more senior level, that sourcing, proprietary sourcing is huge. Companies want to be able to do that themselves. And so if you are coming in VP level, running the show, you've got to know how to do your sourcing.
Yeah, Rebecca, we've actually seen something similar in our world, especially in services and industrials. But the junior hiring seems to be hot. For not the head of market is still great, the VP and above, but I think if I look collectively on our offer report, about half of our data points are under vice president. So director level, senior director, director level, and below, which is maybe a first for our group. And we've seen in particular coming into those roles more flexibility maybe, whereas a couple of years ago it was like a banker or bust. We've seen more focus on the transaction advisory, the deal advisory teams from like the big four firms, folks leaving those as maybe a manager level into a manager of M&A in-house and make that transition really successfully. We've had some clients, some premier private equity firms actually request that profile specifically on our searches over an investment banking or private equity profile because of that diligence, financial due diligence skill set, which is really interesting. It's a trend that we've not seen before.
Yep. What about Diane? Still one of the hottest topics out there is remote work versus hybrid work versus having to relocate versus being in the building 5 days a week. Just trends that you've seen in tech on the first half of the year.
Within tech, Josh, I think it's a great question. Remote work continues to be the forefront of our hiring. We are seeing, though, clients are saying, hey, remote work, we're good with remote. We're really seeing a trend with candidates who are saying, hey, I want to be in an office, right? At least hybrid. I want that interaction. It's so important, right? Especially within corporate development of getting to know the players within the space, getting to know the dynamics and the culture within the office. And so we're seeing a real trend with candidates asking, is there potential for hybrid? Can I travel to an office? And what does that interaction look like? Now, I will say, as Derek and Rebecca pointed out, this kind of junior trend, we are seeing junior trends of being in office, really gaining the footing of your corporate development career in an office. Now, I will say our junior candidates still want to be remote. My more seasoned candidates want to be back in the office. So it's an interesting kind of dichotomy that we're dealing with here. But that is a trend we're seeing. Rebecca, Derek would love to know kind of what you're seeing in your markets.
Yeah, absolutely. Healthcare fully remote is still the way to go. About 30% of what we've seen have been in that hybrid. So they're in the vicinity. Maybe it takes an hour or so to get to the office a couple days a week. And so that's a bit of an uptick because we were so heavily remote a year ago. But kind of a similar trend to you. I want to make sure that there's some time in the office, build up that relationship, know who that corp dev person is. They're not just the face on the screen, but you've actually had some interaction. So I'd say it's the same.
Yeah, we've seen similar. It varies, of course. Industrial businesses tend to be less dispersed from a corporate leadership team standpoint. And so those do tend to be more like, hey, we need this person in the office or at least in the market that they could be here, a fair amount. Services is still, back and forth. We see plenty of, we don't care where this person sits on the client side. And candidates, obviously, in those roles today are largely remote. There's a small portion of those that are in office or required to be in office, but a lot of them are remote today, or at least have the flexibility. So I'd say we've seen it continue to go both ways. We have continued to see a push toward what I like to call regionally remote, where, hey, this person doesn't have to be in an office 5 days a week, but we need them within our market. We need them within the Northeast or within the Southeast. We had someone in the seat in the mid-Atlantic and we're based in Atlanta, and it's not working. You know what I mean? We need someone that's at least in Charlotte or something like that. So that continues to be a trend in my sectors that I play in, is that regionally remote model.
Derek, real quick, in terms of maybe historically, when we were doing a lot of work in healthcare coming out of COVID and it was really exploding, it was interesting, Rebecca and I watching the focus from what our clients were asking for in terms of a profile, from like ex-banker, private equity who worked at a healthcare focused investment bank, who then moved into a corp dev role and had experience doing provider roll-ups. That was kind of like non-negotiable initially. And then like a year and a half, 2 years later, it transitioned to just give me anybody who knows how to spell healthcare, almost because like those guys and gals all got kind of poached very quickly. I'd be curious to hear if like the industry experience piece and business services in particular has followed something very similar. If you're seeing anything like that, like how's the profile of what you're looking for maybe tweaked or been changed the first half of the year?
Yeah, Josh, it's a good call out. I mean, we've certainly seen, I would say, an increased flexibility in services as well. It's a strong nice to have. And we do some searches where this person has to have, residential services experience. They have to understand the nuances of a services business, at least have had exposure to that in private equity or investment banking if they're not in a services business today. But I'd say it has softened similarly to what you've seen on healthcare. I will say it's never been as strong of a must-have in our world as what healthcare was previously. And so the change has not been as drastic, but there's been a similar move toward, hey, we actually see healthcare services folks make the switch over to business and consumer services. We've seen clients that are like, yeah, sure, that's a perfectly fine profile, and they've done a lot of deals, and that's kind of what matters. And they have the business development skill set, the sourcing skill set. So we've seen it focus more on their functional experience and their industry experience.
Rebecca, for you in healthcare, have you seen almost the opposite, where it's like they're back to a tightening, non-negotiable need to have healthcare specifically in a niche industry, or has it been still a little bit looser?
Yeah, I think it's our strong preference is that they've seen this space, but we're still open. What we're looking for, that functional skill set, and it's a couple of different profiles. If our client is thinking about that roll-up strategy, there might be a volume that we need to be really focused on, and making sure that these candidates do have that volume for really high paced activity. The other trend we're seeing is, look, we want to make sure we're finding the right deals. Maybe that's 2 to 4 a year, not 15 in a year. And so does this person know what a good deal looks like? And they think about the strategy behind how is this deal going to impact the overall business? And so those are, I'd say, the two pillars of what we're looking for these days.
Rebecca, that's interesting. So like a shift toward like, hey, let's focus even more on quality, not just quantity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd say we've seen similar things where we've had multiple clients on our searches say, hey, it's great that they have the volume, but have they done transformative M&A? You know what I mean? Not necessarily is that size. Oftentimes it is size related. But we've seen an uptick in clients calling that out on the head of searches in particular. For do they bring that experience, or have they just been in a rinse repeat role?
Do you have anything in tech which tends to be less roll-up-y and the deals tend to be a little more complicated? Anything there in profile?
Yeah, we're continuing to see a tech background is what our clients are leaning in towards, right? That recurring revenue. Have they had the transformational deals and have they had the breadth of deal experience? But it's not 90 deals, right? It's truly kind of that 2 to 6 deals a year. And Rebecca and Derek, you both touched on it, but that origination side of the house has been a real player in 2025. I mean, I think because deal work has been a little bit slower, right, over the past 2 years, can we really revamp and reform our pipeline? And so having somebody with technology in their background who already knows the players to call to build that pipeline has been a real key for that kind of head of and up role. But we're even seeing in the junior roles of, do they have the skill set or the want to start cold calling and building that biz dev kind of arm?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think we've seen very similar trends, especially in professional services and financial services, where when any of the VP head of searches that we've kicked off, there's a major focus on the business development. What have they done? Is this a relationship person? Do they come with a network? Have they built a pipeline previously? Because that's where the gap is. And kind of, the private equity team and or the folks in the business can manage the execution. Again, if it's not a super complex deal structure, but we've seen a very similar trend, especially in the financial and professional services.
Yeah, hunter mentality.
Well, good stuff, guys. Just to close out then. So candidates, current bankers, current TAS, private equity, people are doing corp dev in your specific industries. If they want to be, they want to be on your radar, if they want to receive your contact information, if they want to hear about opportunities from you, let's kind of go down we'll start with Rebecca and go across the line. Like, what do they need to do? Follow you on LinkedIn, check out our job board, reach out to you directly, give some candidates some advice on how to make sure that you are aware of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say planes, trains, and automobiles. Hit me up on LinkedIn, shoot me an email. Love to talk, so let's schedule time. I want to just make sure that we're on each other's radar, as you say.
Awesome. Diane, what about you?
Love the planes, trains, and automobiles. I always tell my candidates there are 3 best ways to connect with us. I mean, I agree. LinkedIn, send me an email. Would love to chat. Would love to talk about what we're seeing on our job board and what we're seeing in the market. The second is, if you see a role, let's talk about it too, right? Would love to just learn what you're seeing in the market. And the third, and where I think that everybody on the screen is really passionate about, is the partnership here. Even if it's not a role or an opportunity you want to talk about, if you want to talk about what we're seeing in the market, if you want to talk about offers, if you want to talk about kind of where to take your career, we want to be a partner for you. Team, I joke that my kids don't want to hear about corp dev offers at the dinner table, but it's all we talk about all day. And so would love to just be a sounding board as you continue to grow your career.
Same. Hit us up on LinkedIn. Email is always a good option. You can find our contact information on our website or in any of our content, but our emails are just firstname.lastname@charlesaris.com. Hit us up there on LinkedIn, similar to Diane and Rebecca. Always happy to chat about what we're seeing and also offer advice, especially for folks that are earlier in their career, maybe looking to make the move into corporate development for the first time, coming out of private equity or investment banking or deal advisory. Happy to chat about what we're seeing. But hit us up on any of those platforms, and make sure you get our newsletter, sign up for our newsletter, because that highlights all of the content and trends that we're seeing on a monthly basis.
Love it. Guys, good stuff. Thank you so much for your time. It's always good to get together with the 3 of you and talk corp dev trends and deal activities looking up, what sounds like in Q3 and Q4. Maybe interest rates will even come down, which will really accelerate this thing. But if you have any questions and you want to be on these guys' radar, reach out to this team directly. So that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Right.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Dee.
Thanks, everyone.